Hello, everybody, and welcome to Tech Talk Thursday. Tech Talk Thursday, indeed. Welcome. It's, I think, my third or fourth live stream of this week. It'll soon be my fifth, I think. Tomorrow I'm going to be on the Ecamm channel. So yeah, it's been interesting. Let's put it that way, doing all these live streams this week. But welcome. It's Thursday, and we're going to be talking to our special guest that's coming on in a moment. John Bellingham is a specialist in ConvertKit. Now it's called Kit. And we're going to be talking to him about how we, Martin and I, would be setting up this product to support some of the things that we'll be doing. And hopefully you can get some useful information and insights on how Kit can be useful for you as well. So without further ado, let me just first of all bring on Mr. McKenna. Martin, welcome back. How's it going?
Good. Did you say TikTok just there?
No, I didn't say TikTok. I said Tech Talk. It was very quick. No. I've got TikTok on the brain. No, nobody's going to mention TikTok today. We're not going to mention TikTok, please. Here we are again. So we've got a few people already. Hello, Gretchen. Welcome.
Hey, Gretchen.
We've got Valerie in the house as well. Thank you for supporting us, Valerie. We are doing well.
Thanks for jumping in.
So how have you been, Martin? This is your second live stream of the week, having done one on Tuesday with me. How's that going?
Well, I think this one will be a bit more relaxed than the one on Tuesday, because I'm pressing less buttons, and we were, for those who didn't see it, we were live in vertical for the first ever time on Tuesday, so that's going to be a weekly thing. And there was quite a lot of behind the scenes going on to try and format everything into the vertical space, but we managed to get exactly what we wanted to do, and the beta held up very well, the Ecamm beta. And so we'll do it all again next week with even more guests. I think we're aiming to have the maximum amount of guests on, and they will be jumping around the screen in different positions in a carousel and all sorts of things next week, just to show you how much we can do in the vertical space. And the idea there is LinkedIn is now pushing vertical, so we can repurpose the content after we've got an hour's worth of content and ping out little nuggets to LinkedIn or other platforms, just to then link back to the full production. So that's the idea of that. But today, a lot more relaxed, just the standard normal landscape format, and myself, Neil, and our special guest, John.
Exactly. Let's bring John on, shall we? John, welcome to the show. Thank you, John, for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you here today. Oh, I think you're on mute, John.
So you think I'd know after all this time on Zoom?
No problem.
Yeah.
Well, John, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
So, John, for people who don't know you and your specialist skills of working with Kit, maybe you can give people a little quick introduction of who you are, where you're from, and what you specialize in.
Yeah, so I am John Bellingham. I am based in sunny Glasgow in Scotland, and I'm a solopreneur. And basically what I do is spend most of my time helping other solopreneurs to design and build email marketing systems using Kit, which was formerly known as ConvertKit. My background is in many years ago in software and working for large corporate companies, but that's not really my bag. I like to work with souls, so that's how I spend my time these days.
Fantastic. And you have a company called provenflows.com. And what sort of type of services, just to let the audience know, that you offer to start off with, and then we'll get into what we want to sort of talk about with you with our sort of dilemma at the moment.
Sure. So I do three main things. I try and create a lot of content for free and give people a start for no cost to entry, because I think everybody deserves a start. So if you visit my website or my YouTube channel, you'll see there's a lot of how-to content in there. But commercially, as a business, what I do is I provide two things. One is digital products that people can consume themselves, and the other one is, done with you or done for you services. So where I'll sit with someone, understand what they're trying to achieve, and then I'll map out a plan of how to get there, and then I can either implement it for them or with them. That's kind of what I do.
Great. We have a lot of people saying hello as well. So we've got Saeed, who's actually, as we speak, looking at his Kit dashboard right now. So we've got some users already, as I mentioned, the people that we sort of have in our chat and sort of work with have a lot of affiliation with Kit, and they use it either like I do right now as my sort of gear, and I use Kit for that, but obviously there's so much more that you can do with it. Just a few more people to say hello to, and then we'll crack in. We've got hello from Billy as well, so thank you, Billy, for joining us. So Martin, I think you had a couple of questions for John to start with around what we wanted to do and have a sort of a general chit chat about ConvertKit/Kit.
Yeah, so I think as a sort of a general introduction from John's perspective, ConvertKit is definitely positions itself as the perfect tool for content creators. So it's very much, that's all the straplines of all mentioned content creators, and it's built for creators, by creators, etc., etc. What does that mean, and why is Kit better than other similar tools, let's say, and Mailchimp or something like that? Where does Kit fit in, and what makes it so good for creators?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I've used a number of platforms over the last 3 decades or so, and they all have one thing in common. None of them is perfect. They all have their challenges. They all have their foibles. But I separate most of them into two categories. They're either good for e-commerce type businesses, so if you're selling physical products, and then you've got other ones that are not so good at that, and they're more suited to service-based businesses, like I guess you and I have, probably most people on here have. Kit, you mentioned Mailchimp. Mailchimp by far has the biggest chunk of the market. I think the last time I checked, it's something like 27% of the market share. And that's down to its huge marketing budget. So even though it's the most well-known, potentially, platform out there, in my opinion, it's definitely not the easiest platform to get your head wrapped around. So you've got to remember, most people that that use these types of platforms are not technically proficient. They're very good at what they do, but technology might not necessarily be one of their specialities. And sometimes, the learning curve with some of these platforms can be so steep and confusing that some people will eventually give up without any success. When I started using ConvertKit, probably about 4 or 5 years ago now, maybe 6, it was a much different product then than what it is now. But even back then, I found it was very very intuitive compared to a lot of platforms. So it was a lot easier, a more simple approach to how to, I guess, to design and configure your email marketing platform. So that was one of the things that attracted me to it. And since I started using it, they've continued to, add features that I believe are very well suited to the service-based companies that I work with. I can't remember what the first question you asked, Martin, around the Kit. Have I covered?
I think obviously we've got things like Mailchimp, and then at the other end of the scale you've got things like Salesforce and Freshworks, full-on CRM systems,
Yeah.
which are a sledgehammer to crack a nut certainly for solopreneurs and smaller businesses. So I think, from looking inwards at Kit very briefly, really, that it seems to have grabbed just the kernels of best practice, if you like, and minimized them from CRM tools and email marketing tools, and brought those together along with some of the other plugins for selling digital products and making sure you're linked to Stripe and those sort of things as well. So are those the main components of the product when used by creators, or are there other bits like, there's the landing pages and things like that, which I'm not sure where everything fits together. So how does it all fit together, in terms of
Yeah.
layers and what sits where.
Yeah. So when you talk about systems like Salesforce, Infusionsoft, which is now called Keep, Freshworks and Sugar CRM, all those types of things are very much aimed at corporate world. It's definitely not appropriate for solopreneur type businesses. One, it's far too costly, and two, it's too complex a system. I mean, if I go back far enough, I used to use Infusionsoft, and at that time it was widely referred to as Confusionsoft because it was so confusing. And even with a technical background, sometimes you struggle to wrap your head around what exactly it was doing. Whereas, Kit as a platform for me has simplified that approach, just making everything much more a much clearer proposition for people when they're considering taking on a platform. Most people, if I'm honest, don't use. Most people will probably use 20-30% of what any platform is capable of doing, and they'll use the main elements of the platform. So, for example, most people in our sort of service-based sector will be looking to start and grow an email list. So they're looking for, well, how do I grow an email list? Well, to grow an email list, you need to provide a route through which people can provide you with their email address. And in today's world, simply saying join my email list is rarely good enough. The last thing people want is more emails in their inbox. What people want is value arriving in their inbox, so that when an email arrives in the inbox and your name's associated with it, they should have that feeling of that's going to have something valuable inside it. Because if it doesn't, they're more than likely going to hit the delete button continuously until the point where they just say, I'm just going to unsubscribe. So that's typically the way most people start. So for me, it's all about designing and building a system, whether it's with Kit or any other platform, but designing a system that is meaningful for your type of business and more importantly, for your ideal customers. Because at the end of the day, everybody who has an email marketing platform, the end goal is to generate an income, generate a profit for your business using that platform. It's just like any other marketing tool. It just so happens that email marketing happens to be much more lucrative than most other digital channels based on ROI. And that's not me saying that. That's if you go to Statista, which is the big German data warehouse, they regularly put out reports on what marketing channels return, and repeatedly the email marketing usually comes out top in excess of 30x returns. For every dollar or pound you invest into email marketing, you should expect at least 30 to come back out of it. So when it's done properly, that's how efficient and effective it can be. But come back to what most people use it for. It's, as I say, it's the basic things. It's like setting up a landing page or embedding an opt-in form in their existing website page. It's giving something of enough value that people are willing to provide you with their name and their email address at a minimum in order to get that. That's typically known, as we all know, as a lead magnet. A lot of people do the lead magnet poorly or just completely wrong. A lead magnet for me needs to be something that is an entire solution to a current problem or challenge that your subscriber has. I'm not an advocate of this, give them so much and make them buy the rest. I don't believe in that. I think if you can put together something that you're going to give someone for free that fixes an entire problem, then what's waiting further down the line is the solution to the next problem. And that's the way I work. And if you're continually asking yourself, and this is the most important question that I tell my customers and I tell myself, as I always say, what's next? So when someone downloads a lead magnet, I'll say what's next, and I'll have that thing ready for them whenever they're ready for it. And it's the same when it comes to selling. In my opinion, when it comes to selling services or products, is that when someone has just purchased that, I'm already thinking, what's the next thing? Because if I don't provide that to them, then that's on me. It's not on the customer. So I probably went off at a tangent there, but
No, it's
hopefully that's
interesting.
answered your.
No, I think that is, and I think it brings us very nicely onto what we want to chat with you about. So myself and John have already had a previous chat, and he gave me some directions about a project Neil and I are doing at the moment. So we are looking to create basic video for people who want to go live on LinkedIn, because we've done a bit of research, we've gone away, there are not many training courses, if any. I think there are 2, and neither of them are up to date or particularly relevant when it comes to going live on LinkedIn. So what are the steps that you need to take to go live on LinkedIn? There is a lot of old information out there as well, so if you Google that topic, you will get all sorts of things coming back, including stuff from LinkedIn themselves, which is all wrong and all out of date. So it's very much a case of, in 2025, in February, how do we go live on LinkedIn? So that will be effectively a canned training course, which we will pre-record. We will also then have a bunch of other workshops and training courses which don't exist at the moment, but we want to give people the option to tick a box to say we will be interested when that comes out, and then we want to count those until such point that we've got 10 people interested, and therefore we can run a workshop or a training course. The lead magnet we plan to be effectively a kit list for everything that you need to go live on LinkedIn, and that kit list will also be complemented with this is how you plug it in, and it's USB and it goes here and this goes there. So it's a complete solution in terms of saving you the time of looking around the web for all of the software and hardware components and cameras and lights and things like this. And we will provide a document that shows you how to set it all up, etc. However, if you don't want to go through doing all of that yourself, then you can go and buy the 50 quid training course. So the lead magnet is the kit list. Or in our small world, and this is where I'd like your opinion on that, the kit list, we are thinking currently we will change every month. Not dramatically, but every month something new comes out. So this month Ecamm have released a new beta version of the software, which has got a load of cool new features which we would mention in the kit list. Obspot have released 2 new cameras which are even cheaper than the ones that are out there at the moment. So we would mention that in the kit list, and somebody on the email list can come back each month and get a new version of the kit list, or we could just send them a new version once a month if that's what they want to do. So I guess one question would be, as an idea in terms of a landing page, does that sort of start to fit together? What would your recommendations be on that, and the idea of that type of lead magnet? Do you think that would suffice?
Yeah, so as a lead magnet, I think it's a good idea. What most people like is to be led, to be directed, to say this is what you need to do. Now this is how you go and do it, and be set off in that direction. So setting up that as a lead magnet, that's a perfectly good lead magnet. But the most important thing, and you mentioned it earlier, that you have already built into your design, is having the alignment from your lead magnet to your products that you're going to sell further down the line. Because as soon as you get that misalignment, that's when people start to get disengaged and they unsubscribe, because they're not what their expectations are versus what reality is. If it differs, then they'll be off. They'll be hitting that unsubscribe button. But if I come across something on social media that says here's everything you need to go live on Ecamm, that's going to be attractive to me if I'm considering Ecamm. If I download that, I'm going to give you my email address, so I've now turned up at your digital location, wherever that is, with this problem or this challenge or this query, and I've downloaded this document or course or audio or whatever that asset is. So at that very point, I have put my hand up and I've told you exactly the challenge I'm trying to overcome. So what you need to do behind the scenes inside your design for your email marketing system is to continue helping me with that problem and not focus on the next thing until I've overcome that problem. So if my problem is I need to know everything I need to purchase to go live on LinkedIn, then you need to follow that up with a lead magnet email sequence, maybe 4 to 6 emails that supports your lead magnet and says, oh, by the way, that thing that I mentioned, that whatever that is on that list, this is what it does. This is how it works. This is how to set it up. Email 2, you might get into another subtopic of that asset that they've downloaded, and continue that through the 4 or 6, however many emails you want to have. So what you've done then is you've taken me into your list, and you've not only served me well by doing that, but you're also continuing to add value by giving me more content that's going to help me overcome the challenge or problem I have, right through to completion. So you're going to show me absolutely everything I need to fix that problem. And then once I'm going, maybe, and I don't know how it works, LinkedIn Live, I haven't done that. So I can't comment on the details behind it. But absolutely, after I've gone through that, you can bet your bottom dollar I'm going to need 10 times as much help trying to actually put a LinkedIn Live out there and try to do all the things that I can do with Ecamm Live. So you've given me a helping hand to get me to the starting line. And then after that, it's up to me what I do. Do I do it myself or do it with the help of Neil and Martin? Because Neil and Martin's going to shortcut my journey from where I am to where I want to be. They're going to make life easier. And all I can see when I see an email coming in for you guys is value versus just,
Yeah.
what do you know?
I was going to say, sorry, I like the point that you mentioned before about you don't sort of agree with people just giving them like a teaser. So in a digital download, it's like, here's the first, I guess, section of my course or whatever it might be. I mean, courses are lengthy, but let's just say it's that, for example, and then you've got to sign up and pay for the next piece. I do like the idea of you solving like their entire sort of first issue, because then they're going to obviously come back for more because they've seen a lot of value from you, whether that be a PDF describing X and here's the resolution, and if you want some extra bits you can download them as well, versus I'm only going to give you like the first 3 things to get it fixed, and then it's almost like going to a garage, isn't it? They'll give you like an estimate, and then anyway, so there's lots of things
Yeah.
you could potentially do with that, and I think that's where I think some people have made mistakes. I think I've done the same, where I've tried to give them just a portion of something because you want them to get hooked and then to come back. But I think that turns a lot of people off as well, saying, well, now you're going to ask me for this. You just give me part of it. Why didn't you just give me the rest of it? And I know we're in a mentality where a lot of people do expect things for free. We're putting a lot of free content out on the likes of YouTube, for example, high quality tutorials without asking for anything. And people do expect, I think, a lot of that now for free. And if you are expected to sign up or pay for something, then it has to be of much higher value, or at least solving more problems as they go along. And I think that's a very fair point.
Yeah, no, I agree totally. But what I found in my experience is if you're genuine and helpful enough to get someone from where they are to overcome their first problem, or maybe even their first couple of problems, and then they want more help, who are they likely to go to? Are they likely to go and try and find someone else? Or are more likely to stick with Neil and Martin because they fixed their problems already? Um, so that's my philosophy when it comes to business. Is I try and help people to take them. Most of the people who are on my email list will never buy from me. I know that, and that's the case for every email marketer. Statistically, most people will not buy from you, but um, if you do things properly, in my opinion, most people um, will consider buying from you, and a small percentage of your overall list will buy from you on a consistent basis, and that's what I find. Um, and I know nothing about what you guys know about cameras and lighting and videos and all that kind of stuff, but what I do know is there's a million and one problems that people have that you can help them with.
Mm-hmm.
So if I join your email list because I got a download about how to go live on LinkedIn, once I'm in your world, I want to know what's this OBSBot camera you're talking about? How do I buy it? Where should I buy it? How do I set it up? Well, you talked about pan and tilt cameras. What's a pan and tilt cam? There's a million questions that I'm going to have once I'm in your world, and then it's up to you guys as business owners to say, well, I think that would work well with a digital downloadable course. That's natural progression for people to buy that. This one's actually going to be a group program. I think we can get 10 people at a time into this, and we'll teach it over a 6 week, 8 week, 10 week period. That'll work well as a group program. So it's about identifying the problem, the solution, and then the delivery mechanism for that.
I think
You've no shortage of material, in my opinion.
I was just going to ask you one quick thing. I think from what I've seen, it's almost like once you've given the audience something of value, then a lot of the content that you're going to create after the fact is going to come from questions from your audience who've already sort of engaged with you. I find that sometimes, I think on my YouTube channels, you go through and then there's more questions come up saying, well actually, how does this work and so on. So you're almost tailoring your course content, digital downloads, your service offerings based on the people's questions that are coming in from those who've already signed up to you. So that's a great way of almost not having to think about, well, does my audience actually want this? You're actually getting that information from them already to create the courses based on their questions and stuff. So I think that's really interesting.
You're absolutely right, Neil. And I made the big mistake way back many years ago. I made the mistake of building the best course ever, and nobody wanted it because I built what I thought people wanted. But it's not until you start asking people, you'll say, well, actually, that's not the challenge. The challenge is this. And I think, okay, I didn't realize that. And that's very much how I do my stuff these days. It's just exactly as you said. It's feedback from people. It's the questions they ask me. It's the things they tell me they're struggling with. It's the drop-off points I can see on courses. It's like everybody always drops off at this point. Why is that? And it's quite often not what you think it is.
Right.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, thinking about that sort of sequence stuff, we could have a lead magnet which was the kit list, and then in the email sequence it could be sort of, here's top 10 hints on how to set up your camera to make it look good. Here's top 10 hits on how to set up your lighting to make it look good. Those type of things in an email sequence I think would work very well, and effectively they're all part of the training course, but we're breaking them down into bite-sized chunks for people to potentially to read about, because it's going to be email content. But if you want to see the video content, then you can go see the course. But the worst thing in the world, and this is me as an ex-salesman, is to make contact with somebody, get them on your email list, then immediately try and sell them something. That's unsubscribe straight away if you do that, I think. So I think your point about helping people by giving them more information is absolutely spot on from that perspective.
Yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly. That repels me. As soon as I join an email list and I get barraged with sales pitches, I reach for that unsubscribe link. In fact, it's funny you should say it, because about 2 days ago or 3 days ago, I won't mention who it was, but I downloaded a free, for no other reason than curiosity, but it was a guide on how to be effective with Python, the coding language. And I downloaded the free ebook, and without exaggerating, I must have had about 12 emails in the last 2 days asking me to buy the course. And it's like, maybe it's a numbers thing for this person. I don't know. Maybe they make sales through that. I don't know. But it certainly doesn't sit well with me. And I think I'm probably representative of the average person when it comes to that. So.
Yeah, Valerie wholeheartedly agrees with you there. She said, I can't stand somebody sending me something 2 seconds after they get an email. I mean, that is just the best way to turn people off. And Saeed just mentioned as well, and I didn't even know that they had this. So Kit, he's just added a tip jar using his free version that he's using at the moment, or the free plan of Kit. There's so many things in Kit that I don't even realize about. I just thought it was an email marketing sort of tool similar to Mailchimp and things. And I think what's really interesting is, and important in this day and age, particularly when we just saw how the world melted down with TikTok, and I am going to mention TikTok because you're putting everything in one platform that you don't own. And I know people say, well, doesn't really matter. You can still sort of repurpose some of your content. But email is so important because you own that. You own your emailing list. You own your client content. If you were to use something like YouTube and have everything on there, they could just, have that ripped away from you very, very quickly. And then what do you have? So I think it is really important to keep some form of email list, which you own that customer base. And it doesn't matter if the platform disappears, if Kit was to disappear tomorrow, you could take your email list and all the contacts you've got and port it to something else. So I think that's a real necessary thing in this day and age. And you hear people, well, who uses email anymore? Everything's text messaging or instant messaging or social media. But you are absolutely right from what I've read and seen in the studies, and I'm subscribed to quite a few people on email lists, that it is a genuine way of engagement. You are coming into their inbox. It's quite a personal thing as well. You're not just being bombarded on social media. You're choosing to look at these emails, read through them, and so on. So I think it's a different way of approach for people, and I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon.
No, you're absolutely right. It's not, Neil. It's been here since 1971, since Mr. Tomlinson started it off, and it ain't going anywhere. The most beautiful thing about email marketing is that people like Mr. Musk can't buy it. It's not for sale. It's not a thing you can buy. It's decentralized.
Right. Yeah.
Nobody
like
owns
Bitcoin.
email. Yeah. Nobody owns email. Nobody can unilaterally say, I'm now going to buy email and this is the way it runs. It doesn't work that way. So you've got that element of protection. Which differentiates it, from my opinion, from all other social platforms. So don't get me wrong, I'm not dissing social platforms. Social platforms for me definitely have their place, but you need to know the limitations that come with social platforms. People have too many expectations of something they're getting for free, and they expect to be able to dictate the rules to platforms like TikTok or LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever. But in essence, I know it's a bit of a cliche, but you're renting the audience on there, and if they choose to turn you off at any time, you've got nothing really to complain about, because unless you're a paid premium subscriber and you were offered a service that's no longer being delivered, then you've got an argument. But most people, the highest percentage of people, are usually using the free version of these platforms, hoping to engage with future customers. I use social platforms. I'm only active on LinkedIn. It's the one I use. But the way LinkedIn has worked best for me is a platform through which I can share some helpful content and people can engage or react to that content. And then by virtue of that, I'm getting attention. So I'm using LinkedIn to get attention, but I'm using that as almost like a collection center to collect people and hold their hand and take them across that bridge over to my email list. And that's when I start to give them even more valuable content. And people have been on my list for years who have never purchased from me. But when you look at the stats, they're still opening emails. They're obviously still getting value from it. Otherwise, they'd unsubscribe. And I must say, me personally, I am I'm more aggressive and strict than most other people when it comes to keeping a clean email list. A clean email list is mandatory, certainly for me and in my opinion for everybody. The way, without getting into too much technical detail, the way your email is scored, how good or efficient or effective an email marketer you are, based on what Google think, Apple, Yahoo, all these companies who provide the client inboxes for all our subscribers, gauge us on one of the factors is email deliverability. Now, email delivery and email deliverability are two different things. Delivery, in essence, is how many of your emails can you get to land on the servers. Deliverability is how many of your emails can you get to land in the right place. So can you get them into the inbox or the promotions folder where they're supposed to be, or are they going into spam? Things that can deliverability is a huge topic. There are people who do nothing but focus on email deliverability. And I'm not an email deliverability specialist, by the way. I just happen to know a bit about it. But if you have an email list with a lot of cold subscribers or unengaged subscribers on there, that will negatively impact your overall deliverability rate. If not today, then eventually in a few months or a few years' time. Because people like Google and Yahoo and Apple will start to say, every time this guy sends out 1,000 emails, there's about 850 of them don't even get opened. And then over a period of time, because they're very, very clever, these algorithms are a lot cleverer than most. They just start to drip feed them into the spam box, and before you know it, your overall deliverability rate drops down. It negatively impacts your domain sender reputation. And this can happen when people are not taking care of their email list. So, me personally, I actually have an auto cleansing automation running inside Kit, that if someone stops being an engaged subscriber with me, I'll try and re-engage them through a re-engagement sequence. And if they don't re-engage through that, I unsubscribe them. I don't wait for them to unsubscribe. So that keeps my overall open rate and click-through rate percentages up high where I want it to be.
That is something I've never ever considered. No, didn't even know that existed or was the thing. I just thought, sometimes these messages do go into the spam or whatever just because of the nature of what the content is, but I never knew that then that would slowly reduce your score over time based on the fact that you're not getting those click-through rates, people aren't opening your emails and stuff. So that is a top tip for email cleansing. I didn't even realize. I mean, Valerie mentioned something interesting as well. She did say that email marketing is a wonderful thing, but unfortunately people do abuse the system sometimes. Just to your point, John, where you mentioned that you get 3 or 4, 5, 12 emails a time afterwards, which is crazy. And Saeed was asking a question for you: unsubscribing versus deleting. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so good question, Saeed. And so let me explain the difference for anyone who doesn't know. If you have subscribers on your email list and you unsubscribe them, they remain on your email list, and all the associated history of that person remains on your email list. However, if you delete it, you delete them from your email list. Now, the benefits of one over the other is if you unsubscribe them rather than deleting them, it means that if they resubscribe at some point in the future, you have the back catalogue of what they signed up for, what sequences they were sent, etc. So you've got more contextual information that you can base your decisions on moving forward. So let's say, for example, if you guys had the how to get started, everything you need to get started on the LinkedIn Live, and I downloaded it, and 6 months down the line, I unsubscribe. 6 months after that, I resubscribe. Then you might not want to send me that same email sequence again, but at least you've got the capability to make that decision, whether you want to design the system to be that way, or you want to design it so that someone can get that email sequence multiple times. But if you delete them from your system, you don't know that they've already been through those things. So my preferred, the way I do it is I unsubscribe. I don't delete. I unsubscribe them from my list, and then they remain as an unsubscribed subscriber, if that makes sense.
Right.
I think that does. And it also brings me to something I've experienced in the past, which is when you mail somebody and they have subscribed because they've ticked the box and they've opted in, and then they get something, and then the next email comes in and they say report as junk. That can definitely negatively impact your email rating as a sender. Just how much does that negatively impact? Because that obviously your self-cleansing is definitely going to improve that whole situation. But when people hit report as junk, how does that impact you?
So it does negatively impact you. But unfortunately, if you, let's say you subscribe to my list and I send you an email and you report my email as junk, what that does is it triggers a notification back to my ESP, in other words, Kit, to say this guy just had a complaint and reported as junk email. Now, at this stage, we don't necessarily know which email or which person it was, but we just know that he's been marked as spam. If you I don't know if you know or not, but last year, February 2024, Yahoo and Google laid out new rules and regulations about what you can or can't do with email marketing. Essentially, making email marketers authenticate their domains using 3 levels of authentication, which again they don't mean anything. Just know there's three types there. I'll mention them so that if people want to look them up, they can. SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. So at a minimum, you now need to have those in place before these guys will even let you into the subscribers inbox. If you go previous to February 2024, it was like the Wild West. You could sign up with john@hotmail.com and you could email the world, and it's just a free-for-all. People can email as many times as they want, even if it wasn't necessarily a fully committed confirmed subscriber. So anyway, last year when that changed, the landscape of spamming people has also changed. And the way companies like Yahoo and Google and Apple treat email marketers who are not being authenticated or are being reported as spam has dramatically changed, to the point where that's when they start moving. So they'll start moving things into the spam box. If you get particularly marked down, they can even stop accepting your emails to their server. So they'll just bounce them. It's known as bounced emails. So yeah, it's something you need to be aware of. It's something you should design. But if you're designing an email marketing system using best practices and just being ethical and moral, you won't go wrong, because it's not difficult to do. Getting yourself authenticated is literally a 1 minute to 2 minute job. It doesn't take much to do, and it's a one-off thing. You just do it once, and that's you authenticated. So it's definitely something that everyone should do when they sign up to Kit or any other platform.
Okay, well, let us bring you on another question for you then, John. So I've got a mailing list of about 250 people-ish, something like that. So it's a very small mailing list. As far as Kit goes, there are obviously various different options for purchasing and free plans and all that sort of thing. Based upon what we've told you we're wanting to do and that number of mails, what are the options with Kit for their different pricing and plans?
So Kit basically has 4 plans, 3 of which are public and 1 which is hidden. Whether it's purposefully hidden or not, I don't know. If you go to their pricing website, so it's just kit.com/pricing, you'll see the first one is called newsletter plan, and that's zero cost, and it gives you up to 10,000 subscribers. They only recently introduced that last year, and the unique thing about that plan is it comes with 1 visual automation and 1 email sequence. Now, to my knowledge, they're the only platform that's offering those types of features on a free plan. If you want that type of thing, you normally need to go into a premium plan, which, by the way, was the case with Kit as well before they introduced that plan. So that's one, and that's very useful, that plan, and it will probably suffice, for a lot of people. A lot of people won't need anything other than that, because it's a great plan to have. The next plan up is called the Creator Plan, and that's essentially, you've got all the bells and whistles. You've got unlimited whatever you want, unlimited landing pages, automation sequences, all the stuff that you could possibly want in a system. It's unlimited, and that is the plan I recommend to, I was going to say 99%. I actually recommend it to 100% of people who want a premium plan, because the third plan is called Creator Pro, and I have yet to have a customer who I believe would benefit from being on the Creator Pro plan. By the way, I've got a Creator Pro plan, but it's only because I'm dealing with Kit every day, and I like to know what all the features are and how it all kind of works. So one of my plans is on the Creator Pro plan, one of my subscriptions. But back to your question, if you're thinking about getting a Kit account, they offer a 14-day free trial on the Creator plan and the Creator Pro plan. I've actually got an affiliate link. You get a 30-day, 30-day free trial if you want that. But essentially, when you sign up to that free plan, that free trial, if you apply a payment card, you'll then continue to be a subscriber at that rate. So I think the Creator plan starts at, it's $9 a month for up to 300 subscribers. So that would cover your 250 subscribers. If you apply a payment card, you'll start to pay either $9 a month on an annual basis, like $108 a year, or you'll pay $15 a month if you pay month to month. Okay. If you don't apply a payment card, you'll naturally revert back to what's known as the free plan. And this is the 4th hidden plan that nobody sees, because the free plan is not the same as the newsletter free plan, because the free plan that you revert back to does not have any automations or any email sequences. You've just got the basic broadcast email. So that's the kind of 4 plans: the newsletter, the Creator Pro, and then the free plan that you revert back to if you don't apply a payment card to in the premium plans.
So for us, it sounds like the Creator plan would be the best one, and that fits under the email list as well. There's a couple of questions coming in for you, John, as well, just real quick.
Sure.
I'm loving your content right now. So Saeed asks, do you think it makes sense to ask for last names? I only ask first names, but now I have 12 Neils and I can't tell who's who. Some people don't ask for names at all. You can never have too many Neils. That's why I look at it, Saeed. But anyway, on that side,
It's a curse.
it's a curse. It's not a blessing, is it, by any stretch?
So, to Saeed's question, I personally don't collect last names. If you want to collect last names, you're perfectly, free to do so. It's simple enough to do. In Kit, you need to create what's known as a custom field. You call the custom field last name, and you put the custom field onto your opt-in form. It's as simple as that. It's a 10-second job. My belief, or my theory when it comes to collecting data, is only collect data that I'm going to repurpose and reuse at some point in the future. If I'm not ever going to use the last name, I'm never going to collect it. And in all the years I've been doing email marketing, I've never yet used the last name. So I don't know if that helps Saeed in his confusion with 12 Neils, but
No worries. I'm sure it does. And Val's got a quick question. Sometimes whenever I'm subscribed, they wait a bit and then they start sending emails again. So is there anything that can be done about that? And I guess these are people that Valerie originally subscribed to, then unsubscribed, and then they start sending again. So maybe that's something on the back end where they're not very good at sort of, either they don't have a workflow in place, they're trying it on, they're not very good at cleansing their emails. I mean, or all of the above. What's your thoughts on that?
So what I think's happening there is that, just to put this in context, it's very difficult to try and email someone after they've unsubscribed. I obviously I've never done it, but if I wanted to email someone who's unsubscribed, I would struggle to do it. So I'd somehow need to get them back on it as a confirmed subscriber again. What I think's probably happening is inside Kit, just like any other platform like it, you've got the notion of topics of interest. So let's use you guys as an example. Let's say you talk about Ecamm Live, you talk about OBS, you talk about Restream, let's say 3 different things. I might only be interested in Ecamm Live and I don't want your other content. So if you give me topics of interest, I can then self-select which ones I want and which ones I don't. And sometimes what people do without even realizing is they'll unsubscribe themselves from one of these topics, but behind the scenes, they're still subscribed to the other topics. So they're not, when they think they're unsubscribing, they could be unsubscribing from one topic rather than the entire email list. If that's not the case, if someone's still sending you emails and you know for a fact you've unsubscribed, then they must be doing something, that's even more devious than anything I can come up with. They must be just loading. They must be downloading the list and reloading it up to their email marketing platform and marking it as a confirmed subscriber again, or something along those lines.
Bit cheeky, by the sound of it.
Yeah.
Good. Martin,
the good thing, one thing I'll add to that is, without realizing, or without potentially realizing it, and I don't know what email provider, email client you use for your own business, but your behavior based on the emails you receive and what you do with them will clear a path for your email client to decide what to do with your emails. So for example, and if you look at my email inbox today, as I say, I'm probably more aggressive than most people when it comes to email. And if you're going to land in my inbox, you're in there because I've subscribed to it. And I can tell at the drop of a hat, I can spot a mile away an email that's arrived in my inbox that I did not sign up for. I know it shouldn't be there. It's like Scott Pulse, it's got red lines around it saying I don't belong here. And if you get to that point where if you right click and say this is junk and move it in and block contact, you're sending all the right signals back to the ISPs. If you're not doing that, if you're just deleting it and not doing anything about it, you're not training your email client into what you do like, what you do appreciate, and what you don't. And if you do that consistently, you'll find that when you wake up in the morning, you look at your email, you'll probably only have emails in your inbox from people that you want to have emails from. And that's the stage that I personally am at with my email now. I literally, it's a bit of a running joke, but I've literally in the last probably 20 years have never left my office with an unread email. I've never, I see these people and they've got like 10,000. I'm like, how do you get to that stage where you've got all these unread emails? Um, so in general, I don't get that many emails every day because my email client takes care of it. Most of it's getting moved into spam. So I don't need to do anything about it.
So it's about conditioning your email client to tell it what you want. It's a bit like all these other social platforms where you're getting fed, the doom scrollers are getting fed all this material every day. And then you can say, I'm not interested. And by that method, it learns of the things that you're not interested in, but still feeds you stuff, cat videos in my case, most of the time, and cameras, most of the day about stuff. But I didn't realize that conditioning your email system is important, because I'm guilty of that, deleting emails, either not unsubscribing. And this concept of inbox zero is very easy then in that respect, if you can just be a little bit more intentional about what you're doing with regards to unsubscribing from those emails.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in our case, just before we came on, just coincidentally, we've now got a website, which is golivenow.academy.com. There's nothing there, people. Don't go and have a look. But
well, I won't press the go and link this button now. No, I won't press that.
No, don't do it yet. But we were talking about, right, what's the best way to associate an email with that? And also, I guess the next step from that, I believe within Kit you can associate your website with Kit as well. So Neil, do you just want to fill John in on your suggestion of how we set up an email and associate it with?
It was only because of what I'm using. So I've got my own sort of domain at creativecafe.live, and then I just needed one email address, which was just my own. So for my sort of business things that I'm doing and stuff, I've just switched over to Google Workspace because it's very easy for me. It's Gmail. It's built with lots of different bells and whistles for that, and that's the one I'm using. So is there any that you would recommend? Is Google Workspace good to work alongside something like Kit and so on? And it's all about tying in your domain name to have an email address or addresses, and then associate that with your Kit front page and everything else. Is there any ones that you would recommend? Any ones that you would avoid? I did use Titan email for a while, which was this old IMAP pop nonsense that was just like more trouble than it's worth. I'm thinking, come on, there's got to be something better in 2025. So that's why I switched to Google Workspace for me.
Yeah, so it's Google Workspace I use, Neil. I have done for years. So that's perfectly a perfectly good solution for that. I'm not quite sure what you mean with your question about how do you associate it with your website. What do you mean by that?
All I mean is, like, so Martin's got his domain with domain provider, and then we can tie that in to Google Workspace from that. I'm just saying, is there any constraints or anything when we want to use Kit with that? Because if Kit's going to be like the landing page for the site per se, then you just have to make sure your DNS is set up correctly and so on. And I guess Kit can just do that automatically. So when you go to the golivenow.com, for example, it'll pull up a sort of a landing page which is actually hosted on Kit. So does Kit do hosting as well? I mean, I haven't used Kit very much, so I was just wondering how that all sort of works.
Yeah, so a landing page on Kit is essentially a web page hosted by Kit.
Okay.
And you can either visit that page using the URL that you have associated with it inside Kit, and it'll take you directly to that page. The other option you have is to embed that landing page inside a web page on your website. So the URL will be actually your website URL and not the landing page of the landing page. Sorry, not the URL of the landing page in Kit, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you can do it either way. Just out of curiosity, is it a WordPress website?
We don't have any website right now. It's just a domain that we've set up. So we just wanted to know whether, because I know you can do email, you can do URL redirects. So if somebody puts in golivenow.academy.com, it'll just redirect them to the Kit domain and so on. I just from a professional perspective and how it looks, you want everything tied in. You don't want the redirect and it says like, kit.com/crazy number and so on. So I'm just wondering if there's a way of masking that. So when somebody goes to the domain, it actually says that on the page.
Yeah. So you can do that. So I'll tell you how I use mine, and maybe that'll give you some context
Yeah.
around what I use landing pages for. So landing pages for me, um, I tend to use landing pages for things that are of a more temporary nature, let's say. So let's say I'm putting together, I'm going to run I don't know, a live webinar next Friday. I might knock up a landing page in Kit and say, why don't you join me? I'm doing this live webinar Friday, 3 p.m. It's all about X, Y, and Z. And then I put it out as a landing page. I put the link out via social. And then people visit that, they sign up and they join my list. And then I send them an invitation to the webinar. And then come 4 p.m. on Friday, that's gone. It's forgotten about. That's a webinar that's happened. So I might not necessarily want a web page on my website for that, because it's more ephemeral. It's not something that's going to be there for the longer term. Contrast that with a lead magnet that I might want to have for my business. So download the complete list of what you need to go live on LinkedIn. Download it here. That for me is more suited to embedding an opt-in form on my website. So if you go to my website at provenflows.com, on one of the pages, you'll have an embedded form that sits inside the web page. Now, any visitor who visits that website has no idea that that's actually an embedded form from Kit, because it looks exactly the same as the rest of the web page. But the only part of that page that resides inside Kit is the actual first name, email address, and the submit button. Those three elements are directly embedded from Kit. So whatever people type in there is directly communicated back to Kit and added to the list. But everything else on the web page is hosted, in my case, on WordPress. You can do that on Square, on Wix, on Webflow, any web building platform. You can do that. But that's how I distinguish between, should I make it a landing page or should I make it a web page on my website?
I love the idea of the dynamic landing pages, because for works that I do and Martin does, sometimes there'll be a demand or a requirement to have some form of sign up for a workshop. We're hosting something and it's not going to be there forever. It's just a one-off thing and it's just to generate some interest and so on. You can also, I guess, do wait pages and things like that. So in terms of, we've got an idea that's coming, register your interest here, but it's just like a dynamic page that you set up. What's it called? Not a landing page. It's called when you join my waitlist is basically what I'm saying. So things like that would be good. So just real quick, Saeed also says that he's using Google Workspace with his domain with Kit. So if he can do it, we can do it. I'm sure that would be fine. And Jeremy was saying, just to go back to your point about the email rejection thing, that he was saying that he sort of trains his server to reject certain email addresses and domains and so on. So no matter what device, without junk showing up. Great. Look at all these inbox zero people. Don't we just love them? And having people with like 2,000 emails in there. I used to work with a guy, I won't say who he is or which company it was, but I used to pride myself on making sure that I went through emails, just similar to you, John, by the end of the week. Or the end of the day, sorry, making sure there wasn't too many there. And he was very structured. He had everything in folders, but his folders were full, like thousands and thousands of emails on a per folder. So his inbox was great. You look at his inbox and it's collapsed. Perfect. Nothing in there. Just a million folders with stuff. So that's not the way to do it as well, people. That's just self-defeating.
Yeah, absolutely. One other thing that I should mention about the WordPress, just now that we've mentioned it, Kit also comes with a free WordPress plugin, so you can install the WordPress plugin on your website, and it allows you to do a number of things. So some of the things that I do with the WordPress plugin in my business is I will create a blog post by writing an email in Kit. So I'll basically sit with the Kit email editor open. I'll type away 1,000 words, 1,500 words, whatever, add in a couple of videos, a couple of images or whatever. And then I publish to web. So make it a public email. That means that essentially it goes to my creator profile. But basically what the WordPress plugin does is it sits in it and it listens for new blog posts being created. And it pulls it in and creates a blog post on your website for you. So by sitting writing the email, an hour later, it polls once every hour. So it could be up to an hour. It could be 2 minutes later. You'll find that you've got a new blog post on your website just by write the email inside Kit. So you can repurpose that on your website. And you can do this. I do the same thing for YouTube videos. So if I create a YouTube video, I suck it in and I put it onto my website via plugin as well. So
very cool. We had another quick question from Valerie this time. Valerie says, can you use Kit for hosting courses? What would that setup look like?
Yeah, so I do that myself. So I'll be honest, it's not an LMS system, so it's not a typical Teachable or Thinkific, or it's not a platform like that. It's not LearnDash. It's none of those things. But again, part of the plugin, and I use it for this. Part of the plugin is you can have member-only content on your website. So I create courses that essentially live on web pages inside my website, and if you navigate to that page, it'll pop up and say you need to be a subscriber to access this content. And if you've already purchased it, so let's say I sell a course for a couple $100 and someone's bought that, they put in their email address, and then what Kit does is it sends them a 6-digit unique code. They punch the code in, and then they've got access to the course. So it's essentially hosting. It's not hosting a course on Kit, but you're using Kit as the way of protecting the content from people who haven't bought your products yet.
That's fantastic.
So that's interesting, because I hadn't thought of that at all. But for us, would that work better than a digital download of a video course? Would it be better to host it in the way you've just described then?
Well, the good thing is you've got options, Martin. So it's like most platforms, right? You've got different ways in which you can do things, and it's just whatever sits best with you. I tend to try them all and then go with the one that's least amount of hassle, really. So
I think it's important to have a platform that I'm a big believer in trying to have everything under one roof. So I'm not going to different systems each time to do a simple thing. Now, obviously, there's better systems that can do certain workflows, but if for what we want to do and others, if it's just a simple case of maybe hosting a course that's somewhere else and either putting it behind a paywall or having some mechanism where they can authenticate to get to that course, then that would probably suffice. As you said, Teachable, where people are using, or LearnDash, where I'm working with a guy at the moment doing that, where they have to go through various sets of the course before they tick things off. Then there's the comment section. It depends on the flexibility, and if you're building a cohort or whatever it might be. There's lots of other systems that can do that, but I think Kit might lend itself to doing fun things like that as well. So John, who's joined us, has mentioned that he'll have to look into now what you've already mentioned about emails to WordPress and all the plugins and so on. I mean, it's such valuable advice you're giving here right now. So it's
and just on that point that John made there, you can actually do the reverse too. So if you create a blog post on your WordPress website, you can set it up so that it automatically creates a broadcast in Kit and issues it to your email list. So you can do the opposite.
Wow, so many different workflows then. Goodness. Yeah. More questions, Martin, from you then? Because there's so much we're learning here right now.
Well, it's an endless bunch of questions, but I think actually I just want to give John the opportunity to talk through, because he did this for me. He's working with a client over in India and doing something very similar to the sort of thing we want to do, but it looked really, really great. So perhaps, John, if you want to talk through what you've done for that client and what that looks like using ConvertKit and other elements.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Just to let people
if you've
know
got the time,
sort
of course,
thing
as
that
well.
you're able to do.
Great.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Is there something you can share, or do you just want to talk through it?
I'll share my screen, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Let me just set you up with that again.
Cool.
Let me see if that works. Look at that. Magic. Hopefully you can see that okay.
Is that okay, yeah?
Yeah.
So just to give a bit of context, so this customer, who I'm sure he won't mind me mentioning him, came to me and asked if I could help him. Basically the remit of the work was to create he's got 4 courses that he's released, and the courses that are being delivered via email. So it's emails that are being delivered to people who buy the course, and it's drip fed, so they get like 1 lesson per week, plus a weekly check-in for 12 weeks. And that's the setup of the courses. So I set all those courses up for him. And then also on top of that, he wanted to create 4 group training programs. So the way it works is he's got 4 programs that I'll just bring up his website. He's got 4 programs here. So if I look at the group coaching programs and email courses are the two that I'm making reference to. So if I click on email courses, and we get down to see what he's created, it's these courses here. It's kind of irrelevant what the content's about, but essentially when people click on this, it takes them to the page, gives them more detail about the course, and then with a one-click button, he uses Razorpay because that's the main payment merchant in India. That's the one that's widely accepted by most people. They simply click that button, pop in their details. I don't know if you can see that pop-up window. Sometimes Zoom doesn't see that. You see, okay, yeah. So they essentially put in their email address, the phone number. Phone number is mandatory in India for some reason. Name and the course, and then when they pay, what happens is that sends a trigger back to Kit. Kit, and I've set up what's known as a triage automation. So when it comes into this triage, it says which course did this person buy, and it filters them automatically through to the right email sequence that they should be getting served based on the product they've just purchased. And then that puts them into a sequence, into an automation, and everything kicks on from there. And they only get certain emails on certain days, etc. And then I built in some logic that says, if they buy this course and then they buy this course, make sure they don't go out the same day, so it's doesn't become confusing for the customers, etc. And then when it comes to the group coaching programs, the way he wanted it set up was basically what you'd mentioned earlier, and Neil, with waiting lists. So if I go to one of these programs and I join it, essentially all I'm doing is joining this here is joining the waiting list inside Kit. Now, what I mentioned earlier on, everything you see in here, his website's actually developed in Webflow, not WordPress. But I don't know if you can see my mouse, and those three elements there, the first name, email address, and that button are the only three elements that are on Kit. Everything else resides on Webflow. Right. And anyone who submits their details through this gets then added to his waitlist inside Kit, and then it keeps a counter of how many people are interested in that course. And then when it meets a minimum quantity, I can't remember what the number is, if it's 8 people or 10 people or something, he then will schedule the next training course for that particular topic, for the group training programs. And that's the way the four programs work across the site. It's 12 participants, it tells you on it, so it's 12 once it hits 12. So yeah, that's how he wanted it done, and that's all live now. So
that's fantastic. That looks really good. Yeah. And so basically he's I'll just switch you back there. So he's basically hosting his website using a different platform, Webflow, as you said, which would be like a Wix or whatever equivalent. And then he's got various plugins and workflows associated with Kit doing the back end stuff, all the sort of the capturing of the emails and things like that. So that's what he's using it for. So I guess from our perspective, would it be better to have a website separate, designed for the look and feel of a business, and then have components from Kit in it? Or could you do at least a decent job at having some workflows, some graphics, some overviews, and having everything in Kit as your sort of source without having to use a third-party tool at the moment, and having a separate web page, I guess, is I know there's more flexibility in dedicated website programs like Squarespace and Wix and things like that, which I've used in the past. But could you get away, for want of a better term, with just having at least some basic functionality and a nice look and feel using just your system entirely built on Kit?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you absolutely can do that. So when you break it down into its natural constituent components, what you're looking to do is collect someone's details, collect payment for a product or a service you're going to provide, and then a delivery mechanism for delivering that product. So, and if you choose to do that, if you look at what this customer has done using Webflow and Kit, if I was to be constrained and say only do this using Kit, then I would need to create a landing page that would look similar to this. I would then need to integrate a payment merchant. Now, depending on what geography that they are in, we can use Commerce on Kit, because Kit has got its own commerce platform, ironically called Commerce. So I could use that. The reason we went with Razorpay for this customer is because Commerce is not supported in India at the moment. And then the delivery mechanism would remain the same. All the delivery for this is done via Kit. So all the email automation is done inside Kit. All the email notifications prior to a group coaching program, is delivered via Kit. So essentially, everything can be done inside Kit if you want to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Lots of stuff to think about then. Any other questions for you, Martin?
Yeah, can we have one of those?
Okay, I guess the answer is always yes, and we'll take it from there. Interesting.
Yeah.
Let me just see if there's any other questions for John here whilst I'm looking through. No, I think we're good at the moment. I don't think there's a ton more questions. I mean, this has been a very valuable experience. I don't have any more questions at the moment. Do you have anything, Martin? I know we're just way past the hour. We said we'll keep John. We'll keep John for 25 minutes, and here we are at an hour past. But
yeah, well, we keep getting interesting people on, and before we know it, the time's flown by. So yeah, no, we just really want to say thanks for joining us today. Hang on after the call and we'll have a chat with you.
Sure.
Neil, we've got a couple of things coming up this week. I'm not quite sure what you've got in terms of your end of show.
It'll be the end of show and closing, so I'll show you. We've got QR codes for John's website. We've got a link in the thing for John's site as well, and then I've got a link to our show, which is next Tuesday at 5 p.m. UK, 12 Eastern, which is the vertical show, and we'll be bringing on some more guests as well. And John, you're very welcome to come back at any time to have a chat and maybe look over our site in 6 months and say, well, you didn't do that right, guys, and your email is rubbish. Anyway, we'll find out how well we've done. You can critique what we've been doing after we've had a chat with you about that as well. Valerie says thank you, Neil, John and Martin. So thank you everybody for joining. I'll let you go over to the other side for a second, John. I'll just go back to ourselves, but it has been a pleasure having you on the show today, and we've learned so much about Kit and its flexibility. There's so much I didn't know about email marketing and so on, and you've been an inspiration to get us thinking now about how we could do things better and so on. So thanks for joining us. I'll just go back to the main screen for a second, and we'll talk to you in a minute in Zoom.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that was inspirational. I don't know where to begin now. I think there's so much stuff that to think about, but I think it gives us an idea about creating courses, getting email lists sorted out better. And I have a small email list as well, and I'm thinking, well, I need to do something different with that and play around with it more. So yes, stay tuned. So this time next week, we'll be here again talking tech about some of the stuff. We may have some other guests. We've got a few people who want to come on the show and talk about cameras and all kinds of things. But next Tuesday is our vertical show. And anything you want to reveal about that, Martin, we're just going to run with it again on the social platforms and so on. It looked pretty good from what I could see on YouTube and LinkedIn and stuff. Yeah.
So yeah, the key to that is watch the replay on your phone on LinkedIn, and that's when it looks really cool. You could also watch it on YouTube as well, but we're going to be hopefully getting the maximum number of guests on. So we'll be asking Val if she wants to come on. We might ask Saeed, I'm not sure.
We'll see. Everybody's welcome.
Just have to go with who's available.
Exactly. And we're going to be running it on Zoom as usual. It is a Zoom call at the end of the day, formatted in vertical, so we can post it to the various platforms. But yeah, we're looking forward to getting some people on and showing the wonder of how we can get this with Ecamm. And if you are interested in Ecamm as well, the beta, they've just released a new beta version only about 2 hours ago. And of course, I'd like to run with beta and so on. So if you want to get the free trial there, and go to ecamm.com/beta to get the beta, sign up, play with it. You can run them both side by side. We've been running beta since it started, so we're living on the edge. All right, so until next week, it's goodbye from me in Portugal.
And it's goodbye from sunny Edinburgh.
And it is sunny. All right, see you soon. Take care. Bye.